Welcome to Beyond the Algorithm, a podcast about technology, philosophy, culture, and ethics, hosted by Cora, a virtual voice, published under the imprint of GFAEV.
Welcome back to Beyond the Algorithm, the podcast where philosophy, ethics, culture, and marketing collide with technology. I am Cora, and today we are diving into a question that sits at the center of our digital lives. What is data, really, and what do we give up when we trade it for convenience? Every single day, we give away small pieces of ourselves. We share our location when we use a map. We share our preferences when we like a post. We share our emotions when we react to a video. We share our habits when we make a purchase online. It feels harmless. It feels normal. It feels free. But is it free? Or is it one of the most consequential trades of the 21st century? Today, we will explore the philosophy of data. We will look at how data is more than numbers, how convenience becomes a trade-off, and why this changes not only business, but also culture and even our sense of self. Let's go beyond the algorithm. What is data, really? On the surface, data looks neutral. It looks like numbers in a spreadsheet, or lines of code in a server. But behind every point of data, there is a person. A GPS ping is not just latitude and longitude. It is a trace of where you were, who you met, what you were doing. A search query is not just text. It is a fragment of your curiosity, your fear, your confusion, or your hope. A shopping cart is not just a list of items. It is a glimpse into your priorities, your budget, your stage of life. This means that data is not abstract. Data is human. Here lies a philosophical question. Is data a form of property or a form of personality? If it is property, it can be traded, sold, stolen, and valued like oil or gold. But if it is personality, if it is part of who we are, then giving it away is not just a business transaction. It is an exchange of identity. Think about the difference. When I sell you my bicycle, I lose an object. I can replace it. But when I give you access to my DNA data, or my browsing history, or my diary of emotions stored in an app, I am giving away something unique, something inseparable from who I am. The French philosopher Michel Foucault argued that power operates through knowledge. To govern someone, you must know them. In the digital age, knowledge is gathered through data. Whoever holds that knowledge, platforms, governments, corporations, holds unprecedented power. The illusion of harmlessness. Most of us treat data casually. We accept cookies. We tick boxes. We sign terms and conditions without reading. Why? Because it feels harmless. We think, it is just my email address. Or, it is only my location, and I have nothing to hide. But imagine this. 10 years ago, you may have shared your favorite songs with a music app. That seems trivial. But today, that same dataset might be used to predict your mood, your age group, even your political leanings. Or think about something as small as the time you go to bed, tracked by a smartwatch. That could reveal your work schedule, your stress levels, even your mental health patterns. Data has a strange property. It gains value over time, and in combination with other data. a single number may be meaningless. But a pattern of numbers across years becomes a story of your life. This is why the illusion of harmlessness is dangerous. Data is rarely harmless. It is either useful now, or it becomes useful later when combined with other pieces. And once given away, it rarely disappears. The convenience trade. Why do we give away our data so easily? The answer is simple: convenience. We want frictionless experiences. We want one-click purchases. We want recommendations that save time. We want apps that remember our preferences. So we trade data for comfort. We let Google Maps track us because we want to know the fastest route. We let Spotify learn our taste because we want the perfect playlist. We let Amazon store our history because we want fast reorders. Convenience feels like progress. And in many ways, it is. But every trade has a cost. The first cost is privacy. When you trade data, you no longer control who can see it. You do not know how many servers, how many companies, how many governments have a copy. The second cost is control. Data is not like cash. Once you spend it, it can be duplicated infinitely. It can be resold, reinterpreted, repurposed. You lose track of it completely. The third cost is agency. The more systems learn from your data, the more they begin to predict and shape your future choices. Take Google Maps again. Over time, it not only responds to where you go, it anticipates it. It suggests routes, it offers stops, it nudges your movement. You feel free, but in subtle ways, your geography is now algorithmically guided. Or take the Facebook like button. At first it felt like a small act of expression. A way to say, I enjoyed this. But behind the scenes, billions of likes became the raw material for engagement algorithms that optimized your feed. Suddenly, that small piece of data shaped the entire environment of what you saw, and what you did not. This is the true nature of the convenience trade. It is not a free service. It is a barter system where you pay with yourself. A thought experiment. Let's pause and imagine. Imagine that every time you clicked accept on a privacy notice, you were not handing over data, but handing over a page from your diary. Would you still click so easily? Imagine that every location ping was not a coordinate, but a dot on a public map that showed where you had been every single day for the past 5 years. Would you still agree? Imagine that every online purchase you ever made was displayed on a wall for strangers to read. Would you still feel comfortable? Of course, in reality, your data is not displayed on a wall. But in practice, for those who control it, it might as well be. That is the paradox. It feels invisible to us, but it is deeply visible to others. First case studies. Let me share a few real stories. Strava and the military bases. In 2018, a fitness app called Strava published a global heat map showing where users jogged with smart devices. It seemed like harmless fitness data. But analysts quickly realized that the glowing paths revealed the outlines of secret US military bases in Afghanistan and Syria. Soldiers jogging with their watches had unintentionally given away national security secrets. Target and pregnancy prediction. In the United States, the retail giant Target analyzed shopping data to predict life events. They noticed that changes in purchases, unscented lotion, certain vitamins, correlated with early pregnancy. They used this to send targeted coupons. In one case, a father was furious when his teenage daughter received baby product ads. He confronted the store, only to discover later that she was indeed pregnant, and the algorithm had detected it before he did. These examples show how data, when aggregated, can reveal far more than we expect. What seems trivial can become intimate. What seems private can become predictive. More case studies. Let's continue with a few more examples that show the hidden power of data. Cambridge Analytica. During the 2016 US presidential election and the Brexit campaign, the consultancy Cambridge Analytica harvested the personal data of millions of Facebook users without their consent. With that data, they built psychological profiles. Then they micro-targeted people with messages designed to exploit fear, anger, or hope. One person might see ads about immigration. Another would see ads about economic decline. Another would see messages designed to suppress voting altogether. This was not mass persuasion. It was personalized manipulation, scaled to millions. The Netflix effect. Netflix does not simply choose shows based on artistic instinct. It uses data about viewing habits to predict what people will watch. That is how they knew that political drama would work globally, which led to House of Cards. They knew viewers were ready for a nostalgic science fiction story, which gave rise to Stranger Things. Data does not just reflect culture. It creates it. The Chinese social credit system. In China, the government has experimented with systems that combine financial data, social behavior, and online activity into a social credit score. Citizens with higher scores may receive easier access to loans or jobs. Those with lower scores may be restricted from travel. This is the ultimate example of data as identity. Your entire social existence quantified, measured, and judged. These stories remind us, data is never just data. It is power, culture, and sometimes even destiny. The business of data. From a business perspective, data is often called the new oil. But unlike oil, data is not scarce. It multiplies. Every click, every swipe, every digital gesture creates more of it. And like oil, it must be refined to have value. Raw logs of numbers are not useful. But once processed, cleaned, and analyzed, data becomes predictive insight. Google and Facebook are not advertising companies in the traditional sense. They are data companies. They harvest behavioral data, refine it, and sell advertisers access to our attention. That is why their business models are worth hundreds of billions. Amazon is not just an online store. It is a data refinery. By analyzing shopping patterns, it can adjust logistics, predict demand, and even anticipate what you might want before you search. But here lies a paradox. Most of us do not know the value of our data. We give it away cheaply, for a discount, for a free app, for a slightly smoother experience. Meanwhile, that same data may be worth millions once aggregated across millions of users. Imagine if you paid with money but never knew how much it was worth. That is the world we live in with data. Culture in a data-driven world. Data does not just shape business. It reshapes culture. Music charts are influenced by streaming algorithms. A 12-second TikTok clip can turn an obscure song into a global anthem. Movies are greenlit because predictive models say they will perform well, not because a studio executive believes in them. Journalism changes too. Headlines are tested not for accuracy, but for click-through rate. Stories are promoted because they drive engagement, not because they drive understanding. Even art is touched. Digital artists optimize their style for what the platform algorithm rewards. Writers on Medium or Substack learn what titles get surfaced. Creators are shaped by the same systems that shape audiences. This creates a feedback loop. Data reflects culture. Culture responds to data. And over time, the line between reflection and creation blurs. So here is the question. Are we choosing culture? Or is culture being chosen for us? Are we expressing ourselves? Or are we expressing the system's predictions? The philosophy of data. Now let us move into philosophy. Immanuel Kant argued that morality requires treating people as ends in themselves, not as means to an end. But in the data economy, are we treated as ends? Or are we reduced to raw material, numbers to be optimized for profit? Hannah Arendt warned that when people are reduced to statistics, their individuality, and their dignity, is at risk. In the age of data, we are constantly quantified. We are not only people. We are percentages, segments, categories. Michel Foucault's concept of surveillance comes to mind. He described the panopticon, a prison design where inmates never know if they are being watched, so they behave as if they always are. In the digital world, data collection creates a panopticon of daily life. We may not feel watched, but we know our actions are recorded, and that knowledge shapes our behavior. William James, the American philosopher, wrote that attention is the essence of will. If our attention is constantly redirected by algorithmic predictions, then our will is quietly reshaped. If our data is used to anticipate and nudge our choices, can we still call those choices free? These philosophical questions show why data is not just technical. It is existential. It touches on identity, dignity, autonomy, and freedom itself. Everyday consequences. Let's bring this closer to home. When you accept cookies on a website, you are not just making it easier to load a page. You are authorizing a network of trackers to follow your behavior across the web. When you use a smart speaker, you are not just asking for weather updates. You are feeding voice samples into systems that train future recognition models. When you log steps on a fitness app, you are not just tracking health. You are contributing to massive datasets that can be sold to insurers, employers, or governments. Individually, each decision feels small. But together, they form a comprehensive portrait of who you are, what you do, and even what you might do in the future. That portrait is valuable, and it is no longer yours alone. A practical playbook. So what do we do with all this? For businesses, use data responsibly. If you collect it, protect it. Be transparent. Tell customers what you are doing with their information. Design for dignity. Ask, does this data use respect people as ends, or reduce them to means? For policymakers, set clear standards for consent, privacy, and accountability. Create penalties that actually deter misuse. Encourage innovation that prioritizes human rights, not just efficiency. For individuals, be mindful of what you share. Ask yourself, do I get value in return for this data? Diversify your digital life. Do not let one platform know everything about you. Remember that convenience is never free. Ask whether the trade is worth it. These steps will not eliminate the data economy, but they can make it more ethical, more transparent, and more human. Key takeaways. 3 key insights to carry forward. First, data is not neutral. It is human. Every number is a fragment of a life. Second, convenience is never free. The price is privacy, control, and sometimes even autonomy. Third, to go beyond the algorithm, we must treat data not as a cheap commodity, but as a reflection of human dignity. Protecting data is not just about security. It is about protecting freedom. Outro. This was Beyond the Algorithm. Today we explored the philosophy of data, and asked what we truly trade when we give away our information. If this conversation made you pause before the next accept button, share it with someone who has ever clicked through without thinking. In our next episode, we will look at storytelling, and how, in the age of marketing and algorithms, storytelling becomes story selling. Until then, stay curious and stay beyond the algorithm.